When it comes to the American dream, I feel that I lived it, and it's literally the reason that I left. We were in our 3-story townhome. We had the trucks. I was in my big girl corporate 6-figure job. We had the things, and it wasn't a dream. It was more of like a fuzz, really.
32-year-old Bianca Lynch is a full-time digital nomad. And while she's always known travel would be a part of her life, after the results of the 2024 election, she says she's making it permanent.
It's very, very hard for us to see ourselves coming back and being in this country, having to be around that many people who felt that is someone who needs to be in power.
Kamala, you're fired. Get out.
She's not alone in looking to leave the country because of the results of the election.
Here are some of the easiest ways to leave the country as an American.
I want to share some of the easiest visas that you can get that'll probably get you out of the country in the next year.
I'm moving again. Yay!
Google searches for digital nomad visas, how to move to Canada, and best countries to move to all peaked the day after the election.
I would say that right now, since the election, the biggest trend is people looking for a plan B, no pun intended, but they're looking for a place where they can go if a certain line in the sand is crossed.
Jen Barnett and her husband moved to Mexico from Birmingham, Alabama after the 2016 election. In 2022, they founded Expatsy to help fellow Americans travel and move abroad.
Our site really first took off when Roe versus Wade was overturned, and that's when I turned in my notice at my job and realized it could be more than a weekend project.
Jen says her site saw 10 months worth of traffic in the 2 weeks after the election, and the top reasons people say they want to leave has changed. With 72% of visitors to their website citing the U.S. being too conservative as the reason they want to move, which she says is a 30% increase from before the election.
What would you say your life was like living under the first Trump presidency?
It felt like that administration gave a lot of people the permission to essentially say and do whatever they wanted. I was always aware that I was a Black woman because that's the life of being a Black woman in the US, but I was hyper aware during that time. I always tell people there has not been one country I've ever been to where I didn't feel safe because I was Black outside of the United States.
Bianca grew up in North Carolina. 5 years ago, she took an extended trip abroad.
I did 4 countries in 4 months. I did Chile, Peru, Colombia, and Mexico. I was in awe, and I honestly was transformed as a person.
She came back to the U.S. for a couple of years, got married, and decided to start traveling again, quitting her corporate 9-to-5 lifestyle to share her digital nomad life to her over 21,000 followers.
You know, some people who maybe don't agree with the president-elect saying, now is not the time to give up. It's time to invest. It's time to stay here. It's time to focus on our community. With you leaving, someone with that mindset might be like, are you giving up?
No, that's fair. I mean, I would honestly just ask the question, is it worth it to you to fight the fight? Do you have that fight in you? Because honestly, I don't have it. Instead of trying to change an entire country, when I can simply remove myself and go somewhere else and by default be happier, I'm choosing peace.
Bianca just spent a few months in Colombia with her husband Mel, and now is back home with her sister Felicia, spending part of the holidays with family before packing up again and traveling to South Africa.
It was tradition, Christmas music, and putting up the tree.
Dang, you ain't have to be like it was tradition. I'm here now.
I mean, it still is. But that's why I said we was going to do it before you left again, so we could do it together. It's not as fun by myself.
All good.
So you said you will not be coming back to the U.S. since Trump won the last election. Have you told your family this?
Yes and no. I know that our family knows that we plan on being abroad for a while. I don't think they understand that we don't plan on living permanently in the U.S. again. We're just sort of passive-aggressively dropping these hints.
Why is that?
I don't know how they will take it. We don't want to hurt anyone. This is one reason why I'm constantly encouraging people to travel, to get out of this misconception of travel is dangerous and the United States is the safest country in the world because people worry. These people are asking me questions when I'm live in Vietnam, like, are you safe? Are you safe in Colombia? And I'm like, are y'all safe?
Colombia does have one of the highest rates of firearm homicides, along with several other North and South American countries and territories. But among high-income countries with populations over 10 million, the U.S. is #1 for gun violence.
What would you say are some of the push factors that are making you want to leave?
The main things that were really pushing us to leave, outside of politics, outside of the gun violence, definitely things like the food. As I started learning more about food and nutrition, even like the nutrition labels and all the things that they put into our food, I was like, it makes so much sense why all these people, and especially people who look like me, are dying from diabetes and heart disease and high blood pressure. And especially speaking like as someone who like lost their dad to that recently, I was like, this is crazy.
According to the CDC, Black Americans have the second lowest life expectancy at birth of all racial and ethnic groups in the United States. Heart disease, stroke, and diabetes disproportionately impact those in the Black community in the U.S. And Black Americans have some of the highest rates of high blood pressure in the world. Some of this can be tied to the number of food deserts and ultra-processed food.
He's always like this.
Do you think there's any circumstances where you could see yourself coming back to the U.S.? Let's say in 4 years, there's another president that you do agree with.
The election was not the only reason that we decided to leave the country. Even under people who are not Trump, American culture is still American culture. It's still the rat race. We're still being fed this food that is just like mass produced. It's still all these people who are living in survival mode. And I just feel like at this point, it's mental health over everything. It's very hard to imagine coming back after experiencing something way better.
She might not move back to the U.S., at least not anytime soon. And that's okay. I know we're always gonna be, sisters, no matter what. And who knows, maybe I'll change my mind and decide to live abroad one day, just not right now.